Well, it's funny, you watch the tapes on him, he's a long, I mean, everybody uses the term long, but they list him at 6'8", he's thin built, pretty looking stroke, and then you look down and he's averaging 12.3 a game. When you watch the film, it's like he's scoring basket after basket after basket, but lately he has been scoring a lot more. Dual threat, off the dribble and off the catch. He's more of a 3 that's playing the 4. So we have to make sure that we guard him out on the floor and make him take tough 2s instead of catch and shoot 3s.
John, people have talked about changing up the starting lineup, but is there anything else you can do to make them start faster and not get in those holes early?
If we had to answer that question, we could. You know what? It seems like we're ready to play. Pre-game warm-ups have been really good. I think it was a carryover of a really good shoot-around that morning. Most teams don't shoot that early for a noon game. We typically do, but we don't go that long, 25 minutes. And we thought we were ready. I don't think that they were prepared themselves enough for how physical the game was going to be. That's something that you really can't simulate, and that was certainly the case, especially early in the game.
John, when you talk about Jones, how are James Young and Aaron coming along in terms of being perimeter defenders?
I think at given times they're good. They have their lapses, like all young kids do, but these kids aren't really that young anymore. We're almost 2/3 of the way through. On-ball defenders, they're solid. If we can minimize them stopping and play entire possessions and then come out when they're tired, because we don't need a breakdown like that. That's what we did at Arkansas. We pointed it out to them on film. We had fewer of those against Tennessee. Obviously the rebounding in the Tennessee game was the difference in a closer game or a game that we could have stretched it out a little bit.
Let's talk about Willie and the problems Willie's had the last couple of games.
Again, it was the Tennessee game was just a physical game, and even though he's 7 feet tall, he has to fight a little bit. Really didn't position himself well on the shot, and got thrown around a little bit. And you can't do that against big rugged guys like that. And that's something that we worked on yesterday at practice, and we'll do that later on tonight when we practice.
Does he just have trouble with bigger guys where he's so athletic?
Typically, no. I mean, he's not the he's not the strongest, but he has to anticipate. He has to make contact. You can't just worry about out jumping someone. If you're not going to get it, don't let your man get the ball and just keep him off the glass. And that's what Maimon did with Julius in the game, and was very effective in it.
Is rebounding an effort thing? Is that how you look at it?
Well, I mean, you look at our stats going into that game, we were plus 13. They were plus 6, I believe. We have to be up there somewhere in national leaders of rebounding margin, but we got our butts handed to us against Tennessee that way. Yeah, it's effort. It's what we call it the no ball watching. As the shot goes, you're looking at the ball as opposed to checking out your man and keeping him off the glass. And we made a point of that yesterday, and it was better yesterday, and we'll do it again today.
Were you surprised coming off a game you lost by not boxing out on the last play that the very next game that you have such trouble rebounding the ball? You think those guys would be more sort of bought into it?
We weren't surprised. I mean, I don't quote me on this, but I don't know. That might have been the first game we got out-rebounded all year. If not, it was a couple. It might have been by a 1 or a 2 margin. To give up 20 offensive rebounds was a ton, but some of those, there were 3 or 4 offensive rebounds within the same possession. So those add up quick on tips. Those count as, so it wasn't as glaring, when you watch the tape, but there still were 20. But the Arkansas game, we stopped playing. We thought, the ball wasn't going to go in, and that was it, and we were going to keep playing, but that wasn't the case.
Is that natural? I mean, John, do you?
It's a tough thing to break. I mean, to not ball watch, especially when you're a guard. Guards got to get long rebounds, and guards need to crack down on big guys, especially when you're on the weak side, because that's where the majority of the balls go. So if a big goes to block or a big's out on the perimeter, that guard's responsibility is to crack down and keep that big off the glass. And it's something that we work on every day. Sometimes we're good at it, but I thought defensively we were really good in the Tennessee game, doing some things that we hadn't done before, and that's good to see that they're carrying some things over.
Kind of, at this point, in what areas can this team improve the most?
I would say sustain playing entire possessions. Our execution is getting very good. Free throw shooting was good the other day. We just got done shooting fouls now, which we shoot them every day. Our transition game is getting better. Our decision making is getting much better. We could see that the few practices before our last game. Thought Andrew Harrison had a terrific game because he carried over the things that we've been working on in practice, not because of his stats and his line. That was evident and obvious, but he's doing it here. And when your point guard does that, it helps everybody for sure.